So you think it's acceptable to try and train a student to be tolerant as a teacher or someone else? Well, I want you to listen real carefully and pay attention. Being tolerant, it is required so you'll be able to learn about things a little bit better. You'll be able to tell the difference between what's primarily wrong from what's secondarily wrong based on reasoning, and so that you'll be able to at least hold up in the situation whenever you're out in society. But this is one thing that you cannot train someone to do. All that you see here in red and black shows you the effects behind trying to train tolerance as a parent or guardian or teacher. The student will probably have confrontations with another student who doesn't know any better, and I can tell you right now, it's very unsafe to leave students who don't know any better in the same place with those who do. That's just not right at all, because someone can get hurt that way. And I think with our federal law of sending a student home who bites someone, it's not going to hold up if you don't do your part in keeping people in the safe zone. A student will probably attempt to or actually hurt another student who doesn't know any better. That's been known to happen too. Sometimes a student is injured or something is ripped, like their shirt. And a student will probably refuse to take whatever the teacher tries to make them take. I can tell you right now that is not good, because some students will get hesitant. They might even try to do whatever they can to get out of it. They might even propose skipping the class and sneak out if denied from doing so. You don't use authoritarian control to hold a student in their will, because they'll do whatever they can to get out. They're probably not going to be as happy of trying to be able to learn anything if you keep doing that consistently. Now, if a parent or guardian finds out about the skipping proposal, they'll probably never admit that their loved one is a victim of crime. Sometimes there's a lot of parents who do that, and we gotta make sure we have what it takes to stop them. They should never go dictating a situation without knowing what's really wrong. And they should kind of tell those teachers that that's not acceptable. And let me tell you something. There's even been stories of students who would get hostile or aggressive with parent or guardian if they start to hassle them in the situation. They're just going to keep asking questions, they're just going to keep expecting answers, they're just going to keep acting unsure. And let me tell you something, a lot of students go out of their minds when somebody does that. Dishes have been known to get thrown in that situation and broken, and some people even start throwing rocks too to get them off their case. And then police and the court system end up getting involved. And then, I don't know, the student ends up losing. The courts just don't care. So, I don't know how else to put this to you, but it takes at least 10 times as hard to convince someone in authority that you're safe rather than a parent or guardian or teacher. And lately that's been happening so much because people think that people are bad just because they can't be tolerant. A lot of these school programs, do whatever they think they can to try to train students in genetic abilities. They know it's required, but they don't seem to care if it's genetic. They just train them. But I can tell you right now, it really doesn't matter how far up in school you are. There's no succeeding without the genetic requirements to be able to succeed. It's kind of like these tables. You notice they each have a different number of legs, but the table can't hold up without any way to brace them, like a triangle or something. Makes it sturdy. Same thing is true with the genetic abilities. They kind of create a sturdy foundation so that the student has a way of being able to learn. And here's something else. In this one, if you probably might have noticed, all these abilities that are written right here are required, but as you can see, they're not all the kind you might find that are learnable. The arrow pointing to the left that's blue, this indicates that all the abilities that you can learn, all these things are learnable. They are made to be learned. There's a lot more, but these are the ones that are required. But these, with the red arrow pointing to the right, just the opposite, shows you all the abilities that are genetic. See, these are all required, or well, at least most of them are. Some of them are just prudently required. But what they do is they kind of help make people see that we need some way to help work stuff out. You see, you have to leave the repairs of what you see written in red here to the neurophysicist, so that whatever's written in blue can be learned. But you can't really ever practice these in school. It doesn't do any good. No school program will ever be able to practice these and get it to work at the same time. It's impossible. If you take a look at the arrows, see the blue arrow going to the left indicates education going the right way, whereas the red arrow pointing to the right indicates it's education going the wrong way. They're two opposites. So if you practice with whatever's in blue, you're going the right way, and red, you're going the wrong way. And so therefore, you can't go in both both directions. You can only go in one of them. You can go either north or south, or east or west, but you can't do both. I mean, maybe you can go both north and east, or south and east, or north and west, and south and west, but you can't go in two opposite directions at the same time. In fact, there's really nothing very beneficial about coping skill practice either. It defies all the facts about science to practice coping skills. Even with the longest match, you could never melt an ice sculpture. It may be hot as a fire, but the ice sculpture has more heat energy, and therefore the match is going to run out of energy long before the ice sculpture melts. You've got to use science when thinking about this. It's very important, are the framework that make everything the way it is. If we didn't have it, we'd be in Dr. Seuss land. So therefore, you really need to kind of think about what happens to people when you try to practice things that aren't good. You can't practice only if you let. I mean, people's situations are just stuck that way. There's nothing they can do about it. Now, if we do the right thing and leave the tolerance repair to the neurophysicist, well, the student will have a better chance of getting along and living out of reach of one student who doesn't know any better. The student won't be as tempted to hurt another student who doesn't know any better. The student won't be as tempted to escape from a situation and do whatever the teacher offers. Then they don't have to think like the situation's unadaptable. The student won't be at any need to be hostile or aggressive over a parent or guardian who chooses to hassle them. And there won't be a need for the courts. What I want you to do at this time is pause and then read down this list of primary behaviors at zero tolerance and tell me what you think. Great job. I hope you realize these are all the primary wrongdoings a child can do that could hurt someone. If they're ever left untreated, the one who does know better could do something bad enough and it would cause them to have to pay for their behavior. The discipline notice would be void because some teacher didn't think twice. This is a case where I think the teacher should have a discipline notice too and agree to have if they didn't do the right thing. So here's the deal. You will not hassle anyone who's trying to get out of a situation where being tolerant is required. It is perfectly acceptable for them to go around anything that has this situation. There's libraries in school and they're perfectly open the whole school day. And there's perfectly other things there too. And under no circumstances is it acceptable for you to make a student go hungry for activities or lunch or anything just because they can't tolerate others. That's one thing that is guaranteed never to be tolerated. Any teacher caught doing that is subject to losing their job and being restrained from all schooling buildings for life. I mean, a student, usually if they earn a treat from a lunch buck, it's not only because they cleaned up, it's because, they also did the right thing and kept themselves out of trouble from other students. And that does not affect their skills in cleaning up after themselves any more than you think. Even if they don't get offered the job to do it, it's still okay. There's nothing wrong with it. But you will not keep them from treats just because they're not being tolerant, and that's that. And here's one other thing I want to point out. You guys working at Big Brothers and Big Sisters, unless you have a neurophysicist license, you will not, I repeat, will not under any circumstances even think about trying to make your client be tolerant with the way you have of doing rap music and being loud all the time. Because you'll be paying the audiologist every last cent of your bank account for their year-long resolution plan if you do. And that's that. Failure to do so will result in loss of your job. You will listen to people's wishes and not practice with things. You will also let them be the ones to pick and choose what they like. Good day.